Oops. Sorry. Sorry about that, everybody. I was copying stuff over. And so I hope that wasn't a black screen too long. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And that was just a portion of a bunch of raw footage that was made for a Cornet film about Napoleon. So it was a lot of footage of parts of Paris and France and a lot of paintings and illustrations. Yeah, because there were no moving pictures in the age of Napoleon. So there you go. Behind me, I got a film scanner set up. And this one is... got a film set up on here. And this is Alexander, who used to be rich, last Sunday. Enjoy.
It isn't fair that my brother Anthony has $6 and 3/4 and 1 dime and 7 nickels and 18 pennies. It isn't fair that my brother Nicholas has 2/4 and 5 dimes and 5 nickels and 13 pennies and $4. It isn't fair because all that I've got is bus tokens, and most of the time what I've mostly got is bus tokens. And even when I'm very rich, I know that pretty soon what I'll have is bus tokens. I know because I used to be rich last Sunday. Last Sunday, Grandma Betty and Grandpa Louie came to visit from New Jersey.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
This is for you.
They brought my father lox, a kind of smoked fish.
Boys, there's something for your mother right outside the door.
How are you?
Oh,
Very spiffy.
well, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
look at aren't those
They
beautiful?
brought plants because my mother likes to grow plants.
Now, you don't suppose I got something for the three of you, do you?
Well, maybe we did bring something at that.
Well, what do you know? There's 5 for Nick
Thank you, Grandpa.
and 5 for Anthony.
All right, thanks, Grandpa.
And 5 for Alexander.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Mom says it isn't nice to say this, but we like money a lot. Especially me.
Hey, Alexander, what are you going to do with your money?
He's going to put it away for college.
Dad was kidding.
I got it. Why don't you take your money downtown to a store and buy a new face?
Anthony stinks.
Take the money, bury it in the garden, and in a week, a money tree will grow.
Yeah, full of $5 bills.
I on a tree like oranges. Ha, ha, ha.
Ha ha. You know, sweetie, if you really want that walkie-talkie, you're gonna have to save your money.
Saving money is hard.
Well, give it a try.
Mom's right. I want a walkie-talkie, but saving money is hard. I know because last Sunday when I used to be rich, I went to Pearson's drugstore and got some gum.
That's 50 cents. Out of 5, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And thank you.
Thanks. After the first stick of gum stopped tasting good, I put in more gum. And after that gum stopped tasting good, I put in more gum.
Hey, wait up, Alexander. What's in your mouth? Gum. Think you got enough?
I'll sell you all the gum in my mouth for 25 cents.
You kidding? Who wants your old gum?
Goodbye, 50 cents. Last Sunday, when I used to be rich, I bet Anthony I could hold my breath till 300.
5, 76, 77, 7. You breathe.
I did not.
You did 2, pay up.
Goodbye, 25 cents.
Mom, bet you can't guess what ham and marbles in.
How much?
25 cents.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
That one.
This one?
That one.
I didn't know that moms made children pay. Goodbye, another 25 cents. Last Sunday, when I used to be rich, I bet Nikki I could jump from way up on the steps and land on my feet. Goodbye, another 25 cents. I absolutely was saving the rest of my money. I positively was saving the rest of my money.
Hi, is Alexander here?
Alexander, Eddie's here with his friend.
Oh boy. Except that Eddie called me up and said he would rent me his snake for an hour. Goodbye, 75 cents.
Hey, Alexander, how much money you got left?
None of your business.
Hey, even when you're 99, you still won't have enough money for a walkie-talkie.
In my opinion, you're too dumb to let loose. You're the ones that are dumb.
My father says there are certain words a boy can never say.
Alexander, what kind of language is that?
They're ratty and mean.
I don't care if they're ratty and mean. Now, you know the rules. 2 of those words you used were 25-cent words. That'll be 50 cents, please.
But, Dad, I don't have any change.
That's all right. I have change.
Goodbye, 50 cents. Goodbye, 5 cents. Goodbye, another 5 cents, and my mom's butter knife and scissors. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, I found this candy bar just sitting there. I rescued it from being melted or smushed.
Okay, wise guy, that's my candy bar. That'll be 50 cents.
It isn't very good.
50 cents.
Goodbye, 50 cents.
Hey, presto! And now the great Nicholas will make anything vanish. Just bring any old thing to the great Nicholas. Any old coins? Aha! The great Nicholas will make these coins disappear, vanish, go away. Voila! Now bring them back. I can't. I want my money. The great Nicholas hasn't learned how to bring things back yet. Liar, thief, you should be locked up in a cage. That's where you should be, in a cage.
Alexander,
Alexander.
there are some things a boy can never kick,
No matter how rowdy and mean his brothers are,
no matter how mean and ratty. Now, you gotta pay up.
Goodbye, 40 cents for the magic, 25 cents for the kick. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, Kathy around the corner had a yard sale. I positively only went to look. I looked at half-melted candles. I needed a half-melted candle. I looked at a bear with one eye. I needed that bear. I looked at a deck of cards that was perfect except for no 7 of clubs and no 2 of diamonds. I didn't need that 7 or that 2.
it's $1.25.
Goodbye, $1.25.
Bye, Grandpa. Bye.
I absolutely was saving the rest of my money. I positively was saving the rest of my money. I absolutely positively was saving my money to buy a walkie-talkie, except I needed to get some money to save.
Alexander, what are you doing?
Trying to make a tooth fall out
May I ask you why you're trying to make a tooth fall out?
so I can put it under my pillow and get 50 cents.
Oh, I see. So you think the tooth fairy's gonna leave you 50 cents. Is that it?
Yeah, except no loose teeth.
Good. I'd rather you kept your teeth. Come on, sweetie. Time for bed.
I tried to rent my toys, but no one wanted them. I looked in the payphones by Friendly's Market for dimes and quarters that people forgot. No one forgot. I brought some bottles back to Friendly's Market to get a refund. Can I get some money for these bottles?
We don't take plastic bottles.
Friendly's Market wasn't very friendly. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, I had $5. I don't have $5 anymore. I flushed it and bet it. And spent it on things like gum and renting a snake. And some of it disappeared in a magic trick, and some of it disappeared through a crack. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, I had some money to save for a walkie-talkie, but I don't have money anymore. I've got this dopey deck of cards. I've got this half-melted candle. I've got this one-eyed bear. And I've got some bus tokens.
Nathan, for the $5, I will spend it on bus tokens, if that was a thing. Unfortunately, excuse me, not in Raleigh, North Carolina. We don't have bus tokens. Wow, that film was great. Of course, it's Judith Viralist, who we've got several films based on books that she wrote that I read as a kid. All right, we got another film set up on the scanner, and I think this is Dairy Products from Moo to You. Enjoy. And some countdown.
We all have our favorite foods.
I like a hamburger and some french fries and a glass of milk.
Some of us like ordinary foods, while others prefer the unusual.
I think I'll take the boiled octopus.
But there's one kind of food almost everyone likes and needs. Dairy products, milk, and the foods that come from milk. Milk has been called nature's most nearly perfect food. It contains proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and minerals. All the food elements both youngsters and adults need for good health and growth. Dairy products, including milk, cream, butter, cheese, and ice cream, make up one of the basic food groups which nutritionists say should be included in everyone's daily diet. Each of us consumes an average of 560 pounds of dairy products each year, about half as fluid milk and the other half as processed dairy products. Let's learn more about these basic and important foods. This is where all dairy products begin, the dairy farm. It can be a small one-man operation or a large commercial farm having 500 or more dairy cows. Some dairying goes on in every state. Wisconsin is the nation's dairy land, boasting 1,800,000 cows, producing over 18 billion pounds of milk annually. Other leading dairy states are Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and Ohio, which are also in the north-central region. New York and Pennsylvania in the east, California in the west, and Texas in the south. There are 6 major breeds of dairy cattle kept by American farmers. They are Holstein Friesian, Jersey, Guernsey, Ayrshire, Brown Swiss, and the milking Shorthorn. Farmers usually keep the breed that's best suited to market conditions in their areas. These Holstein Friesian cows produce the most milk of any breed. averaging 48 pounds or 48 pints per day, with a daily high of over 100 pounds. Dairy cows aren't the only source of milk and milk products. In various other countries, the milk of goats, sheep, reindeer, water buffalo, or even camels is used as food. But in this country, the dairy cow is the chief source of milk. Dairying could be described as a business in which the farmer and his cows work as partners. By an unwritten agreement, the farmer gives each cow lots of tender, loving care and at least 2 square meals per day. In return, the cow changes some of the food she consumes into milk, which she gives to the farmer twice a day. Well, she may not actually give the milk, but at least she lets him take it. On most dairy farms, automatic milking machines now do the job that was once done by the farmer's cold hands. The milk is pumped from the cow to a tank where it is quickly cooled and stored. After each milking, all equipment is washed and sterilized. This kills germs which could contaminate the milk or cause sickness among the dairy herd. Local health officials frequently inspect dairies to make sure that milk is produced under proper conditions and that sanitary regulations are followed. Farmers usually sell their milk to a dairy plant in a nearby city. Once a day, a tank truck picks up the milk and transports it to the dairy plant. Here the milk will be processed and packaged or used to make other dairy products. Some dairy plants can process up to 80,000 gallons of milk per day. After the milk has been pumped into a receiving tank, samples are tested for quality and purity. If the milk is acceptable, it's then tested and passed through a machine called a clarifier. The clarifier removes any foreign material from the milk. Next, the milk is pasteurized. In the pasteurizer, it is heated to at least 161 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius for at least 15 seconds. Pasteurization destroys any harmful bacteria in the milk and helps it to keep fresh longer. Next comes the homogenizer. This device exerts great pressure on the milk to force it through tiny openings. The purpose is to break down and evenly distribute the fat globules in the milk so they won't rise to the top as cream. After being cooled, the milk is sealed in sterile containers and soon thereafter delivered to the supermarket. You've probably noticed there are other kinds of milk in the dairy case. 2% low-fat milk is made by removing part of the fat from whole milk. Skim milk is made by removing all of the fat from whole milk. Cultured buttermilk is a fermented milk product produced by adding certain kinds of bacteria to skim milk and allowing it to incubate. Evaporated milk is simply whole milk with some of the water removed. Non-fat dry milk is made by taking practically all the water out of skim milk. This is called dehydration. In one of its many forms, milk serves as an important ingredient in a wide variety of the foods we eat. In addition, certain substances found in milk are used in the manufacture of many other products. Casein, the principal protein in milk, is used in making glue, water-soluble paints, and plastics. Lactose, or milk sugar, is used in special diets and serves as an ingredient in various medicines and drugs. Like milk, butter is another important dairy product, and one which has been used since ancient times. Some ancient peoples even used butter as a hairdressing. A few farm families still make their own butter by churning the cream which rises to the top of whole milk. Elbow grease is an important ingredient in homemade butter, as you can see. To make large amounts of butter in a dairy plant, a different method is used. Instead of churning one batch at a time, this machinery makes butter by a continuous process. First, this machine separates cream from milk by centrifugal force. Then, after being pasteurized, the cream is pumped through this churn, which causes the cream to break down into butterfat and skim milk. Salt water is added to the liquid butterfat as it's pumped into the chiller. Here, the mixture is cooled and worked until it becomes butter. Then, when it reaches the proper texture and consistency, the butter is forced from the chiller, cut into the familiar shape, and packaged. Like butter, ice cream is also made by continuous process. First, a mixture of pasteurized cream, sweetened evaporated milk, sugar, and stabilizer is prepared in a large vat. Then this mixture is pumped into a machine called a continuous freezer. Inside, blades whip air into the mixture as it freezes. Air is actually an important ingredient, giving the ice cream a smoother texture and better flavor. Additional flavorings such as fruits and nuts may be added. Finally, machines package the ice cream. Cheese is another important and nutritious dairy product. Cheese provides protein, vitamin A, calcium, and phosphorus. Although there are hundreds of kinds of cheeses available in different sizes, shapes, and brands, there are actually only 18 distinct types or varieties. These are classified according to their flavor, mild, medium, and sharp, and texture, soft, medium, or hard. Most cheese is ripened. That is, bacteria or various molds are used in the cheese-making process. Swiss cheese, for example, requires 3 different types of bacteria to start fermentation, produce the wholes, and give it its distinctive flavor. Cheddar, including one type called American cheese, is one of the most popular in this country. It's produced by a typical process. A large vat is filled with fresh pasteurized milk. It takes about 11 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese. First, lactic acid bacteria is added to the milk. This separates the solid part of the milk, called the curd, from the liquid part, called whey. A coloring agent is added at this time. Soon the milk begins to ripen. Then a curdling agent is added. This substance, called rennet, causes the curd to mat together. After the curd is cut into cubes, it's heated and stirred for about an hour. After the whey has been drained out, the curd is cut into slabs and allowed to drain. Later, a milling machine cuts the curd into cubes, which are then salted, packed into molds, and placed in a press to expel additional whey. Next, the cheese is placed in a vacuum chamber overnight to remove bubbles. Then it's put in a special curing room where it will remain from 60 days to 2 years. The longer the cheese is cured, the sharper the flavor it will have. Cheese of all kinds is a popular and nourishing food by itself, or as an ingredient in many flavorful foods and snacks. Yes, dairy products, in their many forms, are among our most versatile, healthful, and delicious foods.
good friends at Centron. Yeah, so we saw Dairy Farmer yesterday, and my feeling was Dairy Farmer was more talking about the farm and the aspects of the changing economic, social climate for farmers. And then a little bit about where the milk goes and all that stuff. But fascinating. I mean, so this was Lawrence, Kansas. So there's a lot of films that were focusing on farmers because there were a lot of farmers. Now let's learn about eclipses of the sun and moon, thanks to Encyclopedia Britannica. And I got another $5. So, Zimmerman? I know you say it every single time, and I forget it every single time. But thank you. So here's eclipses of the moon and sun. Sun and moon. Enjoy.
Early in the morning, a powerful jet prepares for takeoff from Edmonton, Canada. Inside, special equipment for a mission that would take its crew of astronauts, physicists, and astronomers on a race with the shadow of the moon. From the air, the scientists in this flying laboratory would observe and record one of nature's most spectacular displays, a total eclipse of the sun. For most men, a total eclipse is a sight of awesome beauty. But to scientists, it is a unique opportunity to investigate features of the sun that are normally blotted out by its blinding light. Why do eclipses occur? And what can scientists learn from them? The sun, the source of all man's energy. Around it, the Earth moves in perpetual orbit. And around the Earth, its smaller satellite, the moon, also journeys in orbit. Both are illuminated by the sun. Occasionally, the shadow of one body falls on the other. We call this an eclipse. These are actual telescopic pictures of one kind of solar eclipse. There are, in fact, several kinds. To understand them, we must know something about the shadows cast by the Earth and Moon. These consist of two distinct regions, an inner cone of dense shadow called the umbra, and a surrounding region of partial shadow called the penumbra. When a solar eclipse is seen from the region of the Earth covered by the penumbra, only a part of the sun's surface is hidden by the moon. This is a partial eclipse of the sun. But when seen from the area covered by the dense shadow of the umbra, the sun is completely blocked out by the moon. This is a total eclipse of the sun. The sun is actually 400 times larger than the moon. Yet during an eclipse, they seem almost the same size. What accounts for this? Another kind of eclipse occurs when the moon, as it moves around the Earth, falls into the Earth's shadow. This is a lunar eclipse. Let's watch an actual eclipse of the moon. This film, taken through an observatory telescope, shows the moon, many times enlarged,
entering the Earth's umbra. It will take the moon approximately 2 hours to pass through the shadow area. In that time, it will have traveled some 5,000 miles. Now, as the lunar eclipse ends, the moon emerges from the Earth's shadow. Notice the shape of the Earth's shadow on the moon. What did this suggest to early astronomers about the shape of the Earth? The moon orbits the Earth approximately once every month, yet eclipses of the sun and moon do not occur monthly. Why is this so? Imagine a straight line extending through the sun and the Earth and beyond the Earth on the other side. If the moon passed directly through this line in its journey around the Earth, we would see monthly eclipses of both the sun and the moon. But the moon does not travel this way. Instead, the moon's orbit places it either above or below the line on most of its revolutions. Unless the three bodies are in position on the line, the shadows of both Earth and moon fall off into space, and no eclipses occur. Even when the moon's umbra reaches the Earth, it usually covers an area no more than 60 miles wide. It sweeps across the planet at more than 1,500 miles an hour, passing ground observers in less than 7 minutes. A plane flying with the eclipse shadow can extend observations for a few minutes longer. But on the ground, only those people in the narrow path of the moving shadow can observe and record a total eclipse of the sun. Consequently, scientists often travel to remote regions to be in the shadow path. For the next few moments, we will join an eclipse expedition and see a total solar eclipse as a scientist does. Outside the observation compound, the clouds darken and semi-twilight bathes the landscape, announcing the approach of totality. Now, through the telescope, totality itself. Let's look at the eclipse again, stopping the camera at several points. Just before totality, we see only a thin crescent of the sun's chromosphere, the gaseous atmosphere that envelops the sun. The spots at the sun's opposite edge are called prominences. A special lens shows these prominences in detail. They are actually super-hot portions of the chromosphere's gas, thrown out with explosive force in long, flame-like tongues. The prominences travel as far as 250,000 miles outward from the sun at speeds as fast as 250 miles an hour. The eclipse proceeds to totality. Now the sun is completely covered by the moon, allowing us to see the faint pearly glow of another gaseous layer surrounding the sun and its chromosphere. This outer layer is called the corona. The gases of the corona are thin, and they reflect and scatter light to produce the halo effect. In this view, clouds in the Earth's atmosphere obscure the full extent of the corona. But as the clouds pass, the full corona appears, extending more than 500,000 miles outward from the sun. This is the prime target of most eclipse expeditions. Its temperature is almost 1,000,000 degrees, and data recorded from it give scientists a unique opportunity to study characteristics of high-temperature gas. Occasionally, the outermost rays of the corona reach as far as the Earth, where they heat our upper atmosphere, influence our magnetic field, and probably our surface weather. The shimmering aurora, or northern lights, is caused by radiation from the corona. All photographs and observations of the corona must be quick and precise, for in less than 2 minutes, the moon passes on, and the full light of the sun returns as quickly as it vanished. And so, from the brief passage of a shadow across the Earth, scientists gain new knowledge of the sun, new data and measurements that only an eclipse will yield. But in spite of modern technology, eclipse information must be built up slowly, for all total eclipses occurring in one lifetime add up to less than 2 hours in time. Because the sun's heat, light, and gas intimately affect all life on Earth, eclipse studies are extremely important to us. But our sun is only one single star among millions in a firmament whose size defeats imagination. Recently, we have been able to cross the threshold of space. But how far into its vast reaches can we travel? How much can we discover of the universe in which our Earth is only an infinitesimal speck?
Soundtrack. It's pretty great. Kind of it's got like an echo to it. And I think it might be from the same production music as what is used at the beginning of Night of the Living Dead. Alright, so I wrote it down. Zymamin. Thank you for the $5. You notice it's next to Rolaids, Protean, Abdomen, Vegetables, Reptiles, Puma, Rutabaga, Ovulation, Montana, Membrane, what else? Ethanol, Gemini. So you've been added to the Pronunciation Hall of Fame that I have on the back of this. Stop. Do not rewind. All right, what do we got? Oh, yeah. All right. I don't think I've shown this one. I looked to see if I showed it. This was from Craig Baldwin that we scanned it. It's called Biography of a Camera. Enjoy.
In the early 19th century, when Niepce and Daguerre, the first photographers, took a picture, the subject had to pose for at least an hour. By 1870, a photographer who wanted to take a simple photograph of a landscape still needed an assistant to help him carry his equipment. Looking at this complicated portable laboratory, with its boxes and bottles, its platters and jars, it is quite obvious that today's motion picture camera, which photographs 24 pictures per second, was beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Photographers had tried various methods of animating still pictures. The most successful could be called the school of the successive pose. They knew that a movement had to be broken down into its successive stages. Now, don't move. hold it. Inventions like the bioscope, phasmatrope, were all attempts to animate still pictures. But it wasn't until motion itself was understood, and until it could be photographed, that moving pictures were invented. And the first man to study the science of motion was Marais, a doctor specializing in the circulation of the blood. A German inventor, Hirort, had constructed an instrument which replaced the traditional manner of pulse taking. Marais became interested in the new gadget. The invention consisted of a sharp-pointed needle and a movable piece of wood smeared with soot. It was rigged up so that every beat of the pulse produced a corresponding line on the soot-covered board, and so gave a graph of the patient's pulse. Marais reasoned that if a movement could be transcribed into a visual graph, it could be more easily understood. He began by studying the precise rhythm of the various gaits of animals. He wanted to determine the exact position of each leg of a horse in motion. He adapted the pulse-taking invention. Instead of one needle, he used 4, one for each leg. Every tread of the horse was transcribed on the wooden cylinder. 4 separate graphs were recorded. He conducted the experiment at a walk, a trot, and a gallop. Then he was able to analyze the position of each hoof for each phase of the horse's gait. Marais' table showed that in the 3rd beat of a gallop, for example, a horse rests on only one leg. Sketches drawn on the basis of the table created a sensation. The horsey set of the day refused to accept them. They were also completely at odds with the classical concept of galloping horses. Science not only confounded the horse lovers, but even challenged the old masters. The discussion raged on both sides of the ocean. Edward Muybridge, a San Francisco photographer, proved science was right. At the request of Leland Stanford, a great racing fan who had bet $25,000 on the Frenchman, Muybridge proved it experimentally. Imagine a battery of 24 cameras placed in 24 individual cabinets and loaded at the same time by 24 cameramen. The camera shed is placed opposite a racetrack. 24 strings are stretched across the track. As each string is pulled taut, it covers the lens of one of the cameras. The horse starts out. He breaks one string after another. The broken string automatically uncovers the lens, and the horse is photographed at that exact moment. Stanford won his bet. The photographs proved once and for all that a galloping horse rests momentarily on one leg. The album of Muybridge's experiment was sent to Marais. The French scholar was impressed. He decided to try photography too. It should help him to determine with scientific accuracy exactly how a movement took place. His first attempts were unsuccessful. Although he used both a camera he built himself as well as Muybridge's system of multiple cameras, the results were of little value. They lacked clarity. They were not precise enough. And most important of all, they did not break down a movement into its smallest component parts. Marais set about perfecting an exact camera. By the time he took up his experiments again, he had invented the chronophotograph. He tried it out for the first time at what has today become the Marais Institute in Paris. His camera demanded a special setting, a black background that would not interfere with the subject. The chronophotograph itself was only a big black box with a lens. But its shutter was so contrived that it rotated automatically and uncovered the lens at precise, scientifically predetermined intervals. A developed plate showed several instantaneous shots of the horse. Here was the principle of the motion picture camera, developed for the first time. When you increase the speed of the shutter, the instantaneous shots of the horse draw closer together. These webs of moving images, strangely beautiful and remarkably similar to the effects of today's stroboscopic photography, still did not answer the problem for Marais. They were too confused. He decided he would have to make an individual diagram of his subject. The oddly clad gentleman was the closest thing to a diagram. Only the strips of silver braid and the white buttons marking the joints would show up on the photograph. This would give Marais a primitive kind of X-ray effect of how a man moved when he walked. Five years later, when the first bicycles appeared, rolls of Kodak film started to replace the photographic plates. With the new pliable strips of negative paper, Marais took another step toward the modern camera. He adapted his chronophotograph to the new invention. A strip of film moves from one reel to another. The movement must be stopped long enough, however, to permit a clear, unblurred exposure. Marais used a clumsy lever for this, which sometimes tore the film or blurred the image. Yet Marais' very crude chronophotograph contained the most important elements of the modern camera. But Marais was primarily interested in the analysis of movement. But to make moving pictures, it was not enough to know that a movement can be broken down into successive fractions of the movement. A way had to be found to photograph them. And this takes us from the contribution of the physician Marais, photographed here by his own chronophotograph, to the inventor of motion picture film itself, the same kind of film, incidentally, on which this history is now being recorded. The Wizard of Menlo Park, the greatest inventor of all times, the man who changed the world by turning night into day, Thomas Edison, had already made possible the reproduction of sound with his phonograph. He became interested in reproducing movement. Basing his research on the persistence of vision, that peculiar characteristic of the human retina, he invented his own camera. As early as 1888, he was making films as we understand them today. Edison's commercial phonographs were made with headphones for individual listeners. All you had to do was drop a penny in a slot and you could hear the latest song hit, sung by your favorite tenor.
Les dormeurs noyés se séparent, la terre tourne dans leur marge.
Edison also built a viewing machine, which he called the kinetoscope. This provided still another miracle. All you had to do here, too, was drop a penny in a slot, and you could see the latest fad, moving pictures. Anything that moved was exciting, thrilling, overwhelming. Mr. Sandow, the Charles Atlas of his day, flexed his muscles. That was something to look at. The film lasted only 20 seconds, but it moved. If you had enough pennies, you could stand and look at it over and over again. The kinetoscope was extremely simple in design and easily adaptable to commercial use. Soon it was being shipped to all parts of the world. Together with the films Edison produced himself. This is how it worked. The film strip passes in front of a small electric lamp in a continuous movement. A shutter revolves between the lamp and the film. At each revolution, the lamp is uncovered and lights up only one image of the film. Thus, the optical illusion of continuous movement is created. At the same time, the Lumiere brothers, photographic manufacturers in Lyon, perfected a projector for a larger audience. This shot of workers coming out of the Lumiere factory was made in 1895. Edison's kinetoscope was intended for the individual onlooker and therefore could not be adapted for a larger audience. Louis Lumiere made possible the commercial showings of film by inventing a projector which used the principle of the claw of a sewing machine and permitted the film to be projected. At the same time, Thomas Armat in the States took out a patent on another machine which could be used for audience projection. This new invention soon created a new profession, the man with the camera, the man who could record events while they were taking place. And in the beginning, nothing was too unimportant, as long as it moved, even to the baby at breakfast with proud Papa Lumiere playing straight man. The first public presentation of films took place in 1895. In a very short time, there was at least one public place in every small town that showed films. The audience was baffled by this new modern contrivance, and they came back again and again to look and to marvel. A strange white cloth is suspended from the ceiling. Spectators sit on both sides of the sheet. You pay only half price if you see the film through the sheet. The projectionist approaches his mysterious apparatus. Frequently it is the same man who photographed the film. Frequently it is the same machine that served as camera that now projects the film. Now, instead of raw film stock, it is loaded with developed film. Okay, turn down the lights. The modern miracle is about to start. Night after night, people came to see these films about everyday events. They lasted only 40 seconds. They were collected in an ordinary wastebasket, but they moved. The horse of Renault, Muybridge, Marais had come to life. A peculiar characteristic of the human eye has made possible the fulfillment of one of man's dreams. An optical illusion has brought life to inanimate images. Men of different professions, men from different countries, have created a new international language, a language understood by men of every nation, everywhere.
That was really awesome. I had not actually seen that. We scanned it and I went through it, but I hadn't actually watched it with the narration and get a sense of. So here's a funny story. It was probably this fall. No, it wasn't the fall. It was like earlier this year, like January. I had a friend visiting who does work for different archives, and he got a message saying like, hey, can you go by and pick up some nitrate film in Durham? And because he was going to be going to MoMA after he was visiting with us to the MoMA, the film archives, which are in Pennsylvania. And so we drove to this person's house. This woman presented us with this little box, and she said it was from the Moray Institute. I was like, Moray? Who's that? And I looked it up, and sure enough, what we learned about in the film is Moray. And so this woman, I think, was at the Moray Institute in Paris, and she was looking at all these films that were on this table, and they're like, here, do you want some? And so they gave her some of these films, these nitrate films. I doubt that they were made by Moray, but they were made by his institute. But anyways, so he did all this amazing motion study stuff. Is really kind of got pushed that transition from still photography into thinking about motion photography. Really amazing stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed today's films. There was a switch up for the last 2 days of some tedium and misery, and if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up button, the like buttons. Those always count. Even if you've done it before, do it again. It helps us. You can also donate via the Super Thanks button, which some of you did today, and I appreciate that. Who did it? All these names. Nathan and Zimmerman. They did it. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and donate that way, or go to patreon.com/avgeeks, and that helps us buy supplies that we often use, like hard drives, or artist tape, or splicing tape, or archival cans. All those things cost money, and this is asking you for them is one way to pay for them. You can also just go to YouTube and watch YouTube videos on our channel. The advertising helps us as well, but most of all, just watch and comment. We love seeing new faces and new voices, so thanks for tuning in today. Tomorrow's Friday. Good Lord, that's nuts. Let's see. Here's the Rewind Devil. We found this in a can. It was awesome. And he's reminding you to please rewind, which is the opposite of some films which don't want you to rewind. It kind of depended on the library. But this time we want you to rewind the devil. All right. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.